imagine standing on a high mountain peak at night and looking up at the vast blanket of stars above you. It is easy to feel small and insignificant against that massive dark ocean of lights. We often look at those distant suns and wonder if someone else is looking back at us from a world just like ours. For centuries humans have dreamed of finding a second home among the stars. We have sent powerful telescopes into the cold darkness to find other planets. We have catalogued thousands of worlds, and each discovery feels like a new chapter in a giant cosmic mystery book. Yet despite all our searching and all our high-tech tools, we keep coming back to the same realization. The more we look out there, the more we learn about what is right here under our feet. We are on a quest to find a twin for our planet, but the search itself is changing the way we see our own home. This journey is not just about finding a place to land a spaceship. It is about understanding the delicate balance of life that we often take for granted. We are exploring the farthest reaches of the galaxy to solve a problem that exists right here on the ground. When we talk about finding another Earth, the surface concept is often based on the idea of survival and backup. We hear stories about distant worlds, and our first thought is whether we could actually breathe the air or walk on the surface. We look at giant gas planets that are 8 times bigger than Jupiter, and we realize they are far too hot and stormy for us. We look at smaller rocky planets that sit in a comfortable zone around their stars where water might stay liquid. The surface idea is that if we find a planet that is not too hot and not too cold, we have found a winner. This is the simple Goldilocks way of thinking. We are looking for a physical twin, a rock in space that looks like our rock. This surface view treats the universe like a real estate market where we are just looking for a new house because our old one might be getting too small or too crowded. It is a focus on the destination rather than the journey of understanding what makes a world truly alive. We assume that if we find the right ingredients, we can simply replicate what we have here. But behind this search there is a hidden assumption that life is a common and easy thing to spark. We often assume that as long as a planet has the right temperature and some water, life will just show up and thrive. We think of the habitable zone as a guarantee of a welcoming environment. However, this ignores the invisible dangers that fill the cosmos. A planet might be the perfect temperature, but it could be blasted with extreme radiation from a nearby star. It might have a rocky surface, but it could lack an atmosphere to protect it from the vacuum of space. The hidden assumption is that we are looking for a place to go because we assume we can always leave. This mindset can make us less careful with the planet we have right now. We treat Earth like a temporary station rather than a unique masterpiece. We assume that space is full of Earth clones just waiting for us to arrive. But as we look closer, we see that even the most promising candidates are filled with uncertainty. We are not even 100% sure that some of these Earth-like worlds actually exist. The hidden truth is that we are searching for something that may be far more rare than we ever wanted to believe. If we look at the structural pattern of our exploration, we see a move from the simple to the complex. We started by looking for any planet at all, and now we are looking for very specific details. The pattern of our discovery shows us that the universe is full of variety, but it is mostly full of extremes. We find planets floating alone in the dark with no sun to warm them. We find worlds where it might rain glass or metal. The structural pattern of the galaxy is one of chaotic beauty and harsh environments. This pattern reveals that stability is the exception, not the rule. Our Earth sits in a very narrow window of stability that has lasted for billions of years. This long-term balance is a structural miracle. Most planets we find are either too young and violent or too old and dead. The pattern tells us that life requires a perfect timing and a perfect location. It is like a clock with millions of tiny gears that all have to turn at the exact same speed. When we look at those 6,000 planets, we are really looking at a giant database of all the ways a planet can be wrong for humans. This structure forces us to look back at our own atmosphere, our own oceans, and our own magnetic field as highly specialized systems. We can reframe our entire perspective by realizing that the search for Earth 2.0 is actually a mirror. It is not a search for a new home, but a way to see our current home with fresh eyes. Instead of seeing Earth as just one of many rocks, we should reframe it as a rare treasure that we are lucky to inhabit. This perspective shifts the focus from finding a planet B to protecting planet A. We can see our distance from these other worlds as a gift. Even the closest potential homes are so far away that we could never reach them with our current technology. They are light years away, which means the light we see from them left those stars years ago. This distance reframes our situation. It tells us that we are effectively alone on a beautiful island in a very large and empty ocean. This is not a reason to feel lonely but a reason to feel responsible. If we are the only ones who can hear the music of life on this planet, then we must be the ones to keep the music playing. We are the guardians of a miracle that we do not yet see anywhere else in the galaxy. Applying this to our daily life means changing the way we interact with our environment. We do not need to be astronauts to appreciate the rarity of our world. We can start by noticing the simple things that do not exist on those 6,000 other planets. When you take a deep breath of air that is the perfect mix of nitrogen and oxygen, you are experiencing something that is likely missing on almost every other world we have found. When you feel the warmth of the sun that is not too radioactive or too dim, you are benefiting from a perfect cosmic alignment. We can apply this logic by being more mindful of our resources. If there is no backup planet, then everything we have here is all we will ever have. We can treat our water, our air, and our soil with the same respect we would give to a life support system on a spaceship. Because that is exactly what Earth is. It is a massive organic spaceship traveling through the void. We can also apply this by sharing the wonder of space with others. When we talk about the stars, we should also talk about the grass and the trees and the rain. These are the exotic features of our world that make us the envy of the galaxy. Every time we plant a tree or clean a beach, we are maintaining the only habitable zone we will ever truly know. It is about moving from a culture of consumption to a culture of stewardship. We can deepen this reflection by thinking about the timeline of our existence. We are a very young species on a very old planet. We have only been looking at the stars with telescopes for a few hundred years. In that short time we have learned so much about the universe, but we are still babies in the cosmic sense. We are like children exploring a dark house with a tiny flashlight. We see a few things clearly, but most of the house is still a mystery. This should give us a sense of humility. We often think we are the masters of our environment, but we are really just guests. The Earth was here long before us, and it will be here long after us. Our task is to make sure we are good guests while we are here. We have found planets that are 8 times larger than our biggest gas giant, but they cannot support a single blade of grass. We have found planets orbiting red dwarf stars, but they are bathed in deadly fire. The more we learn about the extremes of the universe, the more we should cherish the quiet and the calm of our own world. We are living in a golden age of discovery where we can finally see the variety of the cosmos. And the lesson is always the same. There is no place like home. We are the result of a billion-year-old success story, and we have the power to decide how the next chapter is written. We are not just observers of the stars, but participants in the life of a very special planet. As we continue to search the heavens, we should carry the knowledge that we are already standing on the most incredible discovery in history. If you knew for certain that this was the only world in the entire universe where you could survive, would you change the way you walked upon its surface tomorrow morning?